Hey, you guys, how are you guys? I am so happy about today's show. This is your favorite host, Miss Biscuit, and today, we are going to have us a good old show. We have four fathers that has fought to gain custody of their children and won. So today we are going to chat with them, and this show is an informational show. So I want to make sure you guys know that um, we're here to inform people that need to be informed. So we're not throwing shots at anybody. We're not trying to say that somebody no. All of that you already know that my show is an informational show. So with that being said, before we get into it, I would like to thank everyone that is on my panel right now. But I also would like to thank Toga Lifestyle for having me on the detox that I'm on right now. You guys can go and on her website and she can make a detox for you, as well as Brandy. She has this turmeric face scrub, and it's a lot, but I'm going to tag her in there. She getting my face together for me. You can also go and follow Danny. She gives me the makeup that I use very well. Love it. I think that is all. Yes. So Twoggle Lifestyle, Danina, Brandy has the turmeric stuff. It's a turmeric scrub that I use. I love it. I've been using it for about 3 months now, and it has changed my whole life. And Danny with the lip line, very, very. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and introduce our guest. Okay, so first we have Anthony, we have Damon, we have Serena, and we have Eric. Okay, so these guys are the four guys that we are going to chat with today. The first guest we're going to have is Damon. Okay, so we're going to take everyone off. Okay, bring you closer, sir. How you feeling today? Oh, I'm sorry.
I got you. There we go. How you doing?
I'm good.
I'm
How
good.
you feeling today?
I'm good. I'm good. God is great all the time.
All the time. Okay, so we didn't chat it all, man. Our chat was good. Like it was you I think I done made a new friend, okay? We
Thank
are
you.
very, very good people, very good people.
Absolutely.
Okay, so today, before we get started with your questions, can you take a few minutes to tell my guests, tell my viewers your story on how you gain custody of your children?
Absolutely. Well, about 2000, I was in the military. I returned home from the military in about 2008. I got out in 2006. I lived in DC for 2 years. I came back to New York 2008. I met my kid's mother in 2008, and we were in a relationship. When I met my kid's mother, she already had a son. He was 18 months old. Um, she was rebuilding her life. I was rebuilding my life, and we got in a relationship together. We had we had a gainful relationship for about 5 years, but towards the end of our relationship, um, we started to have our issues. She had my daughter in 2010, my daughter Damani in 2010, and we were together maybe about a year or two after that, and our relationship began to deteriorate. We separated in about 2012. I was living abroad, and she had the kids with her. I can't speculate on the issues that happened with her, but I can give you a little bit of understanding. My kid's mother had a history of substance abuse, and along with that, and I think having my daughter, I think it was a little bit of postpartum in there, along with the breakup of a relationship, just heavy issues, and I think that those issues were overwhelming for her. And my kid's mother, at one night, she went out and she left the kids alone, and it was very late in the morning. My daughter got out of the house, and she was found maybe 3-4 blocks away from where we actually live by a stranger. Was returned to the police. Child services was involved, and they determined through house visits and evaluations that um, she was unfit to have the children at the time. I was given immediate custody of both kids at the time. At that time, I was employed, but I didn't have a place of my own. I was staying with my mom, staying with my parents, and I only had the ability to take my daughter at the time. What I did was I had sent my son to live with his uncle for about 3 years until I could get on my feet. You know, like I had to take some time. It wasn't a set 3 years, but I had sent him with his uncle till I could get on my feet. Um, I had to get acclimated with being a new father and having my daughter and learning how to deal with my daughter. And I had the help of my mother and my sisters to help me with that time, just being alone with my daughter, alone and raising her by myself. And eventually, a couple of years later, maybe about a year and a half later, I got my own place. And it was just my daughter and me alone. At that time, my son's uncle decided that, you know, he was having some issues with his family. They were moving in a different direction, and he needed my son to come back with me. And we sat down and we talked. And my son came back with me about 2 years later, about 2 to 3 years later. He came back with me. I had to go through the foster care system. I had to become a certified foster parent in order to get my son to come be there. I already was a custodial parent of my daughter, although I didn't have actual custody papers. She was in my care. That was around 2015 when I moved in 2016 when I got my son back. So now I have both kids. I had my daughter since 2013.
Okay, so you're saying that your son that you're speaking about is your son that was
This
not
is my
biologically yours,
he's
but
not he's not yes, he's not biologically mine. He's my daughter's brother. But I'd been in his life since he was 18 months. So I was the only father that he actually knew. But the situation that I was in, I felt that it was best if he go and he stayed with his uncle. His uncle was an educator. His wife was a medical professional, and they were raising a great family. And I needed to put him in the best environment in order for him to thrive. But when I got back on my feet, and he was able to come back with me, I went through all the preliminaries that I had to in order to have him in my custody. So I became a certified foster parent, which is not an easy task here in New York City or anywhere, I guess, and especially for a man. We did that, and I got my baby back with me. And after that, you know, we've been together here since 2016. 2019 is when I actually, February 11th, 2019 is actually when I actually finally got paper custody from a judge for my son and my daughter. I spent at least 6 years in the court system, going back and forth, dealing with family members. It was a struggle. Even when I had my daughter with me, I had to go through the New York shelter system in order to get an apartment. Even though I was employed, even though I had money, it's just a different system up here. So it was a long line of events that happened in order to lead up to me being able to be here with my children right now. And my daughter and my son now, they're thriving. My son is 15, my daughter's 11. I've had sole custody of them now for the last 3 years. We're going on 2022. So February 11th made 3 years that I have sole custody on paper. I got the paperwork right here of my two children. Since then, I've also gotten married, and I have had another child. And I've just been building my family since then. But those events right there are the ones that shape me, because uh, being a parent by myself, being a man and a black man in America, and trying to get custody of my children, um, I was an anomaly. You know, I stood out, and it was something that people never seen before. So I've had everything happen from me being accused of abuse to me being praised. You understand? I've been scrutinized inside out by going through the foster care system, dealing with child protective services, tons of lawyers, judges, so many outside influences. I want to give a shout out to my family, because it takes a village to raise a child. So even though I did do this on my own, I did have significant help, and I did utilize the help in the right way, to where I wasn't being enabled. I was just getting the right help and guidance in order to become the parent that I needed to be for my children right now. And I had to open my mind to that and open my mind to people helping me with this situation. But it was a long road. I had to deal with family members and such. That felt that I couldn't do this. You know what I
Right,
mean? I had to deal
right,
with people wanting to intervene and, you
right.
know, and show concern for the children, thinking that I didn't have the ability to do this. And it was my only thing. I had to do it. I had to show them that there was nothing that was going to stop me from taking care of my children and being the parent that they needed to be. And I didn't work
Mhm.
for 5 years. I was a home parent, going back and forth to school every day. Because when I got my daughter was special needs, and she was evaluated and said she had developmental disabilities. My son, he had suffered from some disabilities in his past, ADHD and those things. So I had to get them evaluated and get them what's called intermediate educational programs, which are called IEPs, in order for them to get special education and special privileges, to get them the extra help. And since then, I didn't work them out of that. My daughter is now taking the talented and gifted test. She's an honor roll student. My son is about to attend parochial high school next year. He's thriving, so it was a lot of work. It was a lot of hard work, and it was a lot of nights that I cried. It was a lot of nights that I felt alone. It was a lot of times that I was being judged by people, and people assuming that it was the worst going on here. But I just stood steadfast with the task, and I put God first. I
Yes.
stood steadfast with the task, and now we're here. And I hope that anything that I share today would just be of any help to another brother out there that may be in the middle, the beginning, or even the end of his journey. Maybe something that I might have went through, or some knowledge that I might have, whether it was a tragedy or a victory, could help them get through what they're getting through.
Man, I heard this story before when I had interviewed you, but it seems like it's just I understand that fathers are parents, so they made them take care of them, but it's still just the journey that you had to go through to take care of your kids, to have them yours is just phenomenal.
I got a lot
Um,
of scrutiny. I don't mean to interrupt, but the most scrutiny I got was when I wanted to adopt my son. And believe it or not, I had people, and not to blow anybody up, or not to put anybody on the spot, but there were even people in my own family that questioned my motives for wanting to adopt a child that wasn't mine. Like, why you want to take him? Why do you want to raise him?
mhm.
To be frank, I was actually in a relationship, not my wife currently, but I was in a relationship with a young woman. And when I told her I had the opportunity to get my son back, she was like, "Why? Why do you want him?" You
Wow.
know. And those are the kind of things that I was up against, and it opened my eyes to how people really, perceive, black men as being fathers in society. And I think that we're looked at for only certain things, that we should only provide certain things to society. But we definitely are caring and engaging and loving people like everybody else. And we want the best for our children, just like any
Right.
other race wants the best for their children.
Exactly. Okay, well, I like the fact that you actually accepted help. A lot of people don't accept help, especially when they're getting scrutinized. They feel like it's something going on. But with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and jump into your questions. Did great with your story. Okay. So your first question is: were there any other family members from the mom side that tried to step in?
Absolutely. My son's grandmother actually had tried to fight me for custody for my son and my daughter. When she found out I had custody, she actually tried to take my daughter away as well. And the the significance of that is that my children's grandmother had already raised some of her grandchildren. Okay, she had already raised two of their siblings, actually. You know, so my child's mother, her history with the parenting was a little shaky. So I believe that she believed that this was another rodeo, and that we were going to be going down the same road, and that she may have to do this again. And I had to let her know, like, I was in this for the long haul. You understand? And I wanted to raise Prince, my son, because she was elderly, and she's elderly now. Like, she was elderly at the time, and she's and I didn't believe that she had the ability physically in order to stop my son from getting engaged with the things that now that are plaguing our young black men and that are taking their attention and luring them into the streets and luring them into the jails. She didn't have the physical ability to stand in front of that and stop that coming from both ends. And I knew that I know my son, and I know how he's a beautiful kid. But just like any other kid, with the right peer pressure, the right influence, he would have probably been out there. So I had to intervene and do that. She fought me in court for about 3 years. And this point that I'm making to you is the point that I made to her, was the reason why I wanted to raise him. Also, I wanted him to be raised with a sibling. I wanted my daughter to have a sibling in the house. Since her mother wasn't around, her brother, they had already were growing up together. I felt that it would be best for their childhood for them to be together in a loving home and continue what's going on, because they knew us, me and their mother, as a family. She may be absent, but at least I was there to give them the reminders of what the family was and to let them, grow up. So it was a hard road. But yes, definitely it was her mother. It was her mother that tried to do it. But once she realized where I was coming from,
Okay.
and once she saw the progress that I was making with Prince and the money, she recanted her petition. I didn't
Okay.
even have to win the case. She withdrew her case because she understood that I was in this for the real thing. It wasn't about a check. It wasn't about looking good. I I'm a 45-year-old man. At the time when I got custody, I was in my early 40s. I'm done looking good. My mission in life now is to let my kids go further. I want them to take the things, mistakes, as well as the victories that I've had and go further in life than I did. So
That's what's up. Okay. That's marvelous. It's it's interesting that, I mean, I would expect the mother too, though. Like I wouldn't not expect anybody's mother not to at least fight for their child, even though they're going to a good parent. I don't think it will probably be something towards negative towards you, but what type of mother would have been if she didn't try to.
right.
Okay, so with the rest of our panel, is there anybody in any family members from the mom side that tried to fight you on custody? No. Okay. Okay. All right. So your next question. Your next question is: do your kids have a relationship with their mom?
This is a tricky one. This is probably the most sensitive question for me. Um, they don't, and it's the reason why they don't is because they have not seen her. They have not seen their mother physically in about 6 years. Um, that's not because I'm hiding my children. I don't have orders of protection. I'm not hiding them in in a disclosed location. Actually, they just spent a week with their grandmother, the one that I was talking about. They just actually spent the week off from school with her and made some connections with some of their cousins and stuff like that. They have not seen their mother in years, and she hasn't made that effort, to come forth and be with them. I had run into her one time. She's had some trouble with the law. I'd run into her one time when she was at a court proceeding, and I found out she was at court. I had to do this through my lawyers. Like, I had to find out her location through my lawyers, through their investigating. And I was able to find out that she was like facing a case at one point. So I went to the court date and I saw her, and I made contact with her. And she was like, well, I'm getting out on this day. Come back and I'll go and visit the kids with you or whatever. The judge wound up letting her out a day or two early, and she fled, and I never got that opportunity to bring the kids back. The one point I want to make is that I don't hate my kid's mother. I don't have a disdain, or I don't wish her anything. I actually pray for her every day. I actually pray for her delivery. I pray for her to come back within her right mind, or and to get herself together in order to be there for her children, even if she's not there raising them on a 24-hour basis. I pray that there's whatever issues that are plaguing her mind and are clogging her mind, for her to be able to come back and be in their lives, because it is very important to them that they see her. And it's been a very tough time without them not even being able to see her physically, not knowing if she's dead or alive.
Right.
That's just a really hard thing. But to answer the question, no, they no, they don't, unfortunately.
Right. Well, I know it's hard, and I feel like I gained a friend with you, so I'm gonna add you and the kids to
Absolutely.
my prayers and her to make sure that she gets right sooner
Thank
or
you.
later.
Thank
It's
you.
no late time. So if she's seeing it or not seeing
Absolutely.
this, it's no late time that you can make it so that you can see your kids at all.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
so I thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm gonna put you backstage and bring our next
Absolutely.
guest up. Okay?
Thank you for having me. And
Oh,
just
no
want to say
problem.
peace to my other brothers. Yo, you guys are doing your thing. Keep doing your thing.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna put you backstage.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we heard from Damon. Now we are going to hear from Anthony. Let me bring Anthony on. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so happy that you decided to come on and be a guest on my show. I appreciate you so very much. Just like Damon, I feel like I gained a friend with you as well.
Yeah.
It was really really insightful on how everything went. You two had made an impression on me as well. So I'm glad that you chose to come on to the show. So we're gonna start by you telling, well, you already told me, but would you like to tell my viewers your story on how everything came about with you getting custody of your
Yeah.
child?
Yeah. So in 2014, I met my son's mother. I was 21. No, I was 20. She was 32. And honestly, it was just a summer fling that led into her being pregnant. So then we decided, what we should do. She had three other kids from previous relationships. So, we try to do the whole family thing for on and off for 4 years. Uh, it just wasn't working. We were on two different schedules with work. She was on first shift. I was on first shift. She was on second shift, and it was just honestly a toxic relationship that just didn't work out. So when I ended up leaving, because we shared a place together, I ended up leaving and moving back with my parents. I took my son with me, and then he started seeing her every other weekend. Yeah, every other weekend, so I had him full time, but it wasn't documented at the time. But then I started finding out that she was collecting benefits, saying that she had him full time, and claiming on her taxes that she had him. So when I called the government assistance about the whole benefits, they said they can't do anything until it's proven that I do have him full time. So I gave her many chances to try to get her to take him off her benefits because I wasn't receiving any of them. She was receiving them, but I wasn't getting anything from the benefits that she was receiving. So then I had to go to the court, and also there was other issues going on as well. So I went to the courthouse and filed the paperwork for full custody of my son, and at first they told me that if I can get her to sign it, we didn't have to go to court for it. But she refused to sign it, so then we ended up going to court for it, and then I received full custody of our son.
Okay, so you went to court, and then
Yeah.
so in the court time, in the timing that you went to court, like how long did it take for you to actually get custody?
I want to say few months, not long at all, honestly.
So
Maybe 2 months.
what made it so that it wasn't that long that you received custody? Like what was it that she did that made it, or was it that something that you did that made it so that she can get custody, you can get custody so soon?
When I went to the court to fill out my paperwork, I showed proof that I did have him full time. He was on my insurance and all that. So then the court actually uh paid for me to file and all that. So they took care of all that. So then it just went through quicker.
Okay, so basically because you had him already in your,
Yeah,
okay, so that okay, so
yeah.
you didn't have to go and grab, like she didn't take him and then you had to go fight. You
No,
once
no, no.
you left the
I already
household,
had him. Yeah,
right? So once you left the household with her, you actually took your child with you.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. I know that's right. Okay, so let's go ahead with your first question. Your first question is, do you feel that the system was against you while going through this process?
When we went in front of the judge, I said yes because the judge was taking her side because she would receive him on her weekends, but then she would have someone watch him, and then she would be gone most of the weekend. And then when she would come back, she spent, because she was gone the whole weekend, my son didn't see her that much. So then when I would receive him, he was a just emotional mess and all that. But the judge said it was okay for her to do that because that was on her time. But when she called, I had to answer the phone. So the judge, honestly, I feel like if she fought more for him, she probably could have received him because the judge just was completely on her side.
So basically, if you had took your child with you when you first left the house, you feel like it would have been different.
I feel like we were in front of the judge, and if she actually fought it, that yeah, she could, even though I had him, that she still could have got him, or it would turn into a 50-50 easily because the judge was on her side all the way.
Wow. Do you feel like he was on her side all the way because she was a woman, or just
Yeah, because we had a woman judge.
Interesting. Okay, well, we see the outcome of that. So all right, so your next question. Okay, your next question is, do your child's mother ever ask to have the child on days that she isn't scheduled?
Yeah, there are times when she does ask for him on her weekends off, and I have no problem with him seeing his mom. I never was about him being held against not seeing his mother. So whenever she asks, even if it's on my weekend or whatever, I'm always open to it.
That's beautiful. Okay. Okay. Is there anybody else that child's mother asked asked to see their child on days that they're not scheduled? Oh, I think he left. He left out. Okay, so I think he has a problem with his internet service, but that's fine.
Okay.
I appreciate you so very much for telling your story. We will be in touch because, again, all of the information that you provided is helpful to somebody. So I'm going to put you backstage and go to the next guest, and I thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me on here.
Oh, no problem at all. Okay, another one that is man. Okay, so the next person that we have, we're going to bring Eric on. Okay, so the next person that. Okay, Eric, you got to take off your You on another device, Eric? Looking at it, you got to mute that device or turn the volume down. The device, Eric.
Yeah, let me turn it off. How's that?
Perfect. Okay, great. Okay, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate.
Could you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well. Yeah, you got to turn it straight off. Yeah, no, the other device, just turn it straight off.
Turn it straight off. Okay. How's that?
Perfect. Okay, great. Okay, yes. So you can't hear me on the second. Okay, yeah, because the viewers.
I can see you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I can see you. You're fine. Good angle. Everything is great. Okay. Can you hear me?
Oh my God, this is bullshit.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, could you hear?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, I think we having technical issues with Eric because I think he's froze now. Bring him back on. Let's see. Okay, so I think he's froze. And that's fine. It's fine. We can jump back on with him. I believe he's froze. Yes, I believe he's froze. Okay, so what we're gonna do, I'm gonna come back to Eric because his story, he's the first person that actually reached out to me when I actually put out there that I think he's back. You ready, Eric? You ready? Can you hear me? You got to take your phone off mute. No, the device that you look at, that's on, you got to take it off mute. No, the device that you look at, that's on, you got to take it off mute.
What about now?
Right. Okay. So let me tell you.
Yeah.
Okay. So the device, the phone that you have in your hand, you have to just go straight out of that. You got to log off of there. Just go X out. Okay. Now, can you hear me?
Okay, I'm completely out now.
Okay, so now we got you, and I can see you. You're clear. I can hear you. Everything is beautiful. Okay, so how you feeling today? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh my God, it's not meant, man.
Okay, no, it's okay. I'm gonna come back to you, okay, Eric? Okay, I'm gonna come back to Eric. I know because I don't understand why his volume is out, but I'm gonna come back to Eric. Okay, so we are going to bring Saron on. Saron is a author and entrepreneur of so many things. I met him a few months ago at at my location, and he was a vendor. And we immediately started chopping it up. He gives so much information. Like when I say, just walk up to him and start talking, he'd be like, "Oh, so you do this? Well, let me tell you this, this, and this." And he'd be like, "Oh, so you do this? Oh, well, let me tell you about that too." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, sir, can I schedule a meeting because I'm at work right now, but I need all of this information that you're giving me." So, sir, how are you feeling today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on, honestly. And I hope that whatever I have to share can really help out some fellas out there.
Yes, I believe it will, because you are the first person that I had talked to about it that actually made me want to do this show. I was talking to you about being a vendor, and you had said something, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And you know me, my mind, I just start asking questions, and I found out he custody of his kids, and I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting. Wait, but how you do that?" And it was like, and he just kept going on. It was just very intriguing to me. So, with that being said, sir, could you please tell my viewers your story on how everything happened?
Okay. Like you said, I'm gonna try to tell it as much as I can without bashing the mother of my children. That's not what we're here for, like you stated. So, but I can give my truth at the same time. Well, me, been with my children's mother since I was about 15 years old, high school sweethearts. Was together about maybe 17 years. We were married, going on 7 years. Things led to happen, whatever the case may be. And basically, I was put in a situation where I had to go to court for my children. She decided that she didn't want, any parts of this anymore, family-wise, relationship-wise. Can't speak on why, that I have to ask her that. But as far as me and my children, I'm a family man to the core. So me being a family man to the core, and I don't know if because she was upset or whatever the case may be, but certain things were said to the case of me not being able to see my kids after everything. And I just wasn't willing to, have that go about, because I'm a true family man to the heart, been in my kids' life since they were born. So I'm an avid reader. So I just went and started looking up everything I can, within the court system and family law. I didn't have the money for a lawyer either. So I just started reading, on law research, everything that you can think of, watching mock trials on, YouTube, whatever the case may be. And I went down to the courthouse and started the proceedings for custody of my children. And that's how everything started. I took it very seriously. And years later, it's me and my 2 children.
Okay. That's okay. Short, and I got you.
I don't know how to. But
No. You gave all the key points on what was needed and how you came about getting custody of your kids. So, tell me this: what do you feel is something that, you know what? No, don't tell me that yet. We're gonna go to your questions first, and then I'm gonna ask you that question, because I know you're gonna have a whole lot of spiel to say about that. Okay. So your first question is, since you're still pursuing your legal career, with 2 things, what 2 things would you recommend that people need to know about getting custody of their child?
Okay. As you said, pursuing a legal career. Actually, everything I went through was going to get my children, and been in the courts with other people who are not as fortunate, I could say, as myself, as far as men having custody of their kids. It let me know that that's a real thing that I would like to be able to, pour back and help others with. So now I'm finishing up pre-law, and so that's what I'm doing. But I'm not giving any legal advice. I did want to share that. But a couple of things that I noticed and I want to share with fellas out there is that one thing is abandonment. What you do not want to do is or you don't want to abandon the household, and you don't want to abandon your children. What the courts and the judge looks at is what they call the best interest of the child. One thing about the courts is it's all black and white. There is no gray area that you can kind of fit in. So it has to be within the letter of the law. And the main thing that they truly, truly harp upon is having the best interest of the child. So when I say by abandonment, meaning a lot of men, you may get into it with your spouse or your children's mother, whatever the case may be. And in the heat of the moment, you may just say, hey, let me leave, or let me get up out of here, whatever the case may be. And you may think that you're doing the right thing, to calm down, to cool off, or even just get away from the situation, clear your mind. But in a lot of circumstances, what that leads to is abandonment. And that means that you abandoned that household and you abandoned the child. And what the judge and the court looks at, that wasn't the best interest of the child in that moment. So that's one thing that I seen when I went to go sit in courtrooms, and I was in there myself. A lot of other men that were falling short, that was their downfall. They left the house. No matter what reason they gave the judge, whatever the case may be, they left the house. Considered, abandonment. So that would be one thing that I would say not to. And another thing I would say, I guess you said two things, is, let me see. One of the things for the best interest of the child, they call adjustments to school and community. So meaning if you have a children's mother, whatever the case may be, and you guys may stay in separate households, and at some point it may come to a certain point where you may want shared custody or full, whatever the case may be. They look at the best interest of the child. And when you're talking about adjustments to school and community, the courts look at, they don't want to interrupt that child's normal day-to-day life activity. And that's what they weigh upon when they're figuring out the shared custody agreement. So meaning if you stay in a community that's separate from where your children's mother stays and your child stays, I suggest that you should put your children in extracurricular activities within your community. So if you stay within a certain community, you have a young girl or whatever, put in some ballet lessons in the community. If they don't go to the school district in your community, put them in maybe wrestling or boxing, whatever program within that community. Because when you go to ask for shared custody, what they're going to say is, how much ties does this child have in this community with dad? So the more ties that you have with the community, the more stronger your custody case is. Even if it'll be great if you can get that child in a school in your district. For whatever, you might have better schools in the district, but once that is set, the precedent has been set, and it's almost very unlikely at that point that they remove the child from within that school district, because they've already established friendships and relationships within that school district, whatever the case may be. So those things play heavy when you talk about the best interest of the child. Like, what is that child doing within that community? So meaning, if you want the child more from their parents' house or from the mother's house or wherever they're at right then and there, you have to kind of show what in your community is holding the child to your community to say, hey, I want 40% versus 20%. Hey, I have to get them here within, to this soccer program or whatever the case. They've been going for this for 6 months, and they've established friendships and patterns, and the judge will look at that and say, hey, I'm not going to stop that because that's in the best interest of the child. So those are two things I would recommend in that.
That's what's up. Yes. I when you had told me that before, I was like, once you had stated, I was like, that makes sense. You don't leave the house, and make sure that the kids is it's a reason for them needing to be with you more than the mom.
Yes.
Right. Okay. All right. Second question. How important do you feel counseling is for Black men, especially fathers?
I think counseling is extremely important. Not just for Black men, especially for men, especially if you're going through a scenario where you're going for custody of your kids, or even if you wind up with custody of your children, you still have to remember that your children were affected as well. So me, myself, not only did I go to therapy and counseling, and that was new for me because, it was a stigma in our community that you either solve for, just it just wasn't cool to, go talk to somebody about your problems or feelings, but it actually helped out a lot, honestly. So I signed up, me and my children, and that was one of the best decisions we can do, because I had to realize, even though, I was hurt and, and not just hurt, but still having to push forth and, make sure everything, in the courts go through smooth, my kids was going through it as well. So I believe therapy was a huge dynamic, and still plays a role in our life to this day. So I just think we need to ignore the stigma with it. And I think honestly, it needs to be more Black therapists. That was the only problem I can say I had with therapy, was that either I didn't have any therapists, my skin complexion or my skin, or they weren't my age. So I might have had an older Caucasian lady at first. It was cool to talk to somebody, but they didn't really feel to understand, my plight. Or then, okay, I might have gotten a Black lady. I got excited about them, but now she was like 90 years old, so it's kind of hard for her. So one thing I guess I've been finding a little difficulty with is finding therapists closer to age range and, our race that maybe understands us a little bit more.
Okay, so do you and your kids go to counseling now?
We do.
Okay.
We do online now with COVID and everything once a week. And it's very helpful. We've moved along from the issues we had with mom and everything, but now it's just more so it's just become self-care. Honestly,
okay.
Mental health is very important.
Okay. I do have about 3 questions from the audience that they had wanted to ask you guys. However, this counseling question is something that I really want to get feedback from the other 2 guests. So Damon and Anthony, I'm going to bring you guys on and ask you guys about the counseling sessions as well. Do you guys, how do you guys feel? Well, we can start with you, Damon. Do you feel that counseling is important to Black men, especially Black fathers? And do your family go to counseling as well?
Absolutely. I agree totally. Counseling and therapy is definitely essential to being a good parent, period. And like the gentleman said, what I'm saying, not just for Black men, not just for men, just for when you're dealing with a situation like this. Breakups in families are traumatic, and we focus a lot on ourselves, but a lot of times we don't really, sometimes we don't get to see that the kids are extremely affected by that. My kids went through tons of therapy. It was tons of therapists involved, tons of things. What I had to do is I had to open my mind to the programs. I had to take myself out the equation and think about what was best for them and what they needed at the time. And it's kind of hard to do that when you're fighting a battle. And what I also had to do is educate myself on the different types of counseling and what they needed pertaining to their personal needs, their educational needs, all of that. And the information is available. You have to be open-minded in order to go and get that. And you have to be willing in order to give that to the children. I agree totally. And I agree that is one of the best ways to show the court and to show your family and everybody that your head is on straight, by allowing someone without a bias to hear your thoughts, to get that off your chest, and to get some feedback. Because sometimes we might get feedback from family and friends and maybe a little one-sided and maybe a little jaded because they love us. You understand? But sometimes you need the hard truth too about your situation. So counseling and therapy is definitely essential. I agree totally.
Okay, great. How about you, Anthony? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because there is a stigma that we're fighting, that Black men should act a certain way, or if we're too emotional. But yeah, we should be going to therapy to break that cycle. And also for the child, because it's not easy, even though you're the parent that's there for them, it's not easy for the child to go without the other parent or barely seeing the other parent. So I think counseling is definitely a must.
Okay, yeah. So do you, Anthony, do you and your child go to counseling?
We don't, but I have looked into it.
Okay, all right. What was the reason and why you didn't pursue counseling when you first was going through everything?
Honestly, it's just something that really didn't come to my mind.
Okay, so you didn't feel like you needed it at the time?
I don't know if it was that, or it just, I didn't really, I wasn't really thinking about our mental health like that, to be honest with you. It wasn't really something that, the first thing that came to my mind.
Yes. I'm pretty sure that the people around you were thinking about it, because us as people that have to take on a whole lot, we don't look at that part. All we see is the fact that we need to keep going. We need to move, keep doing what we need to do.
Yeah.
However, our significant others or our moms or our fathers or our aunties and uncles, they see what's going on. They see the kids. They see how the kids are reacting to things. And us, we're just looking at, okay, let me take care of this, get to this right quick, and then we go. But we're not actually paying attention to the fact that we need mental attention to make sure that we can go and keep going the right way. But yes, the stigma of it is a bit extra when it comes to it. However, I think more and more of us are going to counseling. But again, like Saron said, it would be better if we had a lot of counselors that were young, Black, and understood the situations that we were going into. Because I can't sit in front of no old white lady, 87 years old, and tell her my problems, and she gonna tell me I understand. Why, ma'am? Where do you understand? You're here to listen to me. I can look in the mirror and listen to myself, okay? But anywho, I'll go find out some, and I'm gonna put about 10. I'm gonna tag about 10 of them in this post so that we can get to it. That is definitely my homework. So by Monday, you guys will have at least 10 therapists that are from the age of, I guess, 27 to possibly 45 or 50 at that, and then we can check in and see how they move around and how everything is and how they maneuver. But Anthony, I do feel like you and your child should go seek counseling, even if you don't see anything that the child is showing you that they should, look for counseling. Just to talk to somebody that's not you or somebody would be great.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely agree.
Yes. Okay, so if you guys don't mind, it's I think 3 questions that came up in this in the comments, and one of them was about significant others. Okay, so this question, we can go to whomever is actually dating someone. Saron, are you in a relationship with someone?
Nah, this doesn't really
okay, great. Anthony, are you in a relationship with someone?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna start with Anthony this time first. Okay, so Anthony, do your kids get along with your current spouse or girlfriend? And was there any negative effects for that?
Yeah, they get along with the person.
Okay, so they got along right away?
Yeah.
Okay, so how long, my question, how long before when you first met them did you introduce them?
I think it all depends on the situation.
Okay, understood. Okay, so Damon, how about you? Because you are married to a beautiful woman that's been on your side and had your back. How you feel about this?
I had to take the mic off. My wife, the thing with marrying my wife, I was single for like 5 years when I first got my kids. When I first got my children, I took time. I was by myself with them for many years. I gave myself some time. Coming out of a relationship with their mother, the situation we just went through, I think a lot of times what I view, this is my observation, men don't give themselves enough time to work on themselves. You understand? In order to be a good husband, you got to work on yourself, and I tell this to my brothers wholeheartedly. Don't be afraid to take that time for yourself and don't rush yourself, because you got to find the right person, not just for the children, but for you. Your marriage has to succeed. Your children are going to grow up and get married and go do their own thing. And you're going to be with your mate long after they're gone. So you have to take the time and get to know yourself. I take a lot of time, a lot of praying. I got time to know myself. And I ask God to give me someone to give me balance, that I could love and that would be helpful and be a mother figure. I introduced my kids to my wife when she was my girlfriend, considerably early. I ain't even lie, it was considerably early, but they gelled, and I observed them together for many years. I was actually with my wife 3 years before we got married. You know what I mean? Like, so we spent time together as a couple, and we grew that way. And now my daughter, my son, they look at her as a mother figure. They love her. They respect her. And, I try to, and I love my wife and I respect my wife. So as the head of my household, I show my wife that love and respect as an example. My kids are able to show her that, but their relationship together, they have their own thing going on. Sometimes they even exclude me out the thing. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they do things and I don't even be knowing about it, but I'm okay with that because that shows that they love her and they trust her. And in the absence of their mother, I'm glad I could fill that void just a little bit because you can never replace moms, right?
Yes.
I can fill that void just a little bit.
Yes, totally agree. Well, what you said about introducing them a little bit early. Honestly, I have a conversation starter, and on one of my questions in my conversation starter, that's $25. Go ahead and purchase. In that conversation starter, it's a question on there that says, when should you actually introduce your kids to your significant other? Me personally, I feel that the earlier the better. You don't have to introduce them in an intimate setting. You can introduce them at the park, at the restaurant, McDonald's, Playland, just so that you can know the vibe that they have. You wait 2 years, 6 months, and now your kid can't stand them. So who you gonna choose?
Got you, the
I
children.
say something, Miss Nikki.
Yes.
Oh, I'll say about this one. Say just me personally, just my own morals and values, or whatever the case may be. I haven't been too much in this situation, but if I did get in that situation, I think with me, I would almost not even at the kids' mothers even asking for this, but if I was talking to somebody, I would almost have to insist that they meet my children's mother first before they met my children. She didn't ask for that. I'm not saying she even won't say deserves, but that's something I would want in return. And so, as far as me, I haven't been put in that situation either, but I believe I told her, like, yo, if you do decide to, whatever the case may be, that's on you. But I believe, just as a man, I believe that I should, you know what I'm saying, just out of respect, give me the opportunity to meet that person before they meet my children. And not so much on some, let me check you with this, that, and the third. But sometimes, a man, you have to let people know what it is that you will and will not tolerate up front. So there is no conversation later. Oh, I didn't know this, then the third. They may feel, may believe real hard in corporal punishment. They may feel, your son got out of hand, so I spanked them. No, they got a father. You know what I'm saying? Yo, if that happens, you come to me and let me know. And they may not have known that before the conversation. But after we've had a conversation, there is no conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's all about respect. And it's the same thing that I would want to give my children's mother in return. So when I did have those conversations with young ladies, let me meet your children, I want you to meet my children's mother first. But what if she doesn't want to meet you? All I can do is ask. You know what I'm saying? I did my part. But me, as a man, that's something that I'm big on respect, and just I'm not checking you and who you messing with, this, that, and the third. But as far as my children, sometimes you got to just look a man in the eye and let them know what it is and what you will and will not tolerate with your children. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so the question, so the statement you said that you wanted them, if you were dating or pursuing someone, you would want them to meet your child's mother. What is there like a timeline that you would go to say, well, how long? Like, we've been dating 3 months and you haven't met the kids, but I need you to meet my child's mother first. Like, is it a timeline?
Honestly, I'm with what you say as quick as possible, because like we can just be friends, kicking it, hanging it out. You know what I'm saying? And like, if we going out, you might got kids too, might bring the kids along. As long as I'm explaining to my children what the situation is, hey,
right,
we're friends, or this is a relation. Being honest with your kids as well, but more so it's for me as a do unto others as you have them do unto you, and a respect thing. So I haven't been in that situation, but that's just me personally. I have pushed that issue. A lot of times they don't want to meet, or whatever the case may be, but not to cause drama, but just because that's what I want in return.
Of course, exactly. You do what you want others to do to you. You can't go and meet somebody, bring them around the kids, move them in and everything, and then she go meet somebody, and then you say, well, you didn't introduce me. No, I'm giving the respect that I want to be given.
What that creates is it creates accountability with your most precious asset, or your most precious thing, my children. You know what I'm saying? So with that, my children's mother and the person they're with, it creates accountability. You can no longer say, oh, I didn't know, in any situation.
Exactly.
Because we're covering everything. Like, yo, they have a father over this way. I understand if you may need, so I'm not interrupting with that. Yes. But as far as certain things, putting your hands on them, that's a no. Even putting your hands on my children's mother in their presence, that's most definitely a no. Whatever you do behind closed doors, but you will not do that in front of my, you know what I'm saying? It's just certain things. And it's not. And it's not coming off as tough or whatever. It's just honestly creating accountability. So nobody.
Yeah, you're making sure that your kids, the village that does raise your kids, is raising them the way you want to be raised.
We all on one page.
That's yes, yep. Exactly. Well, that is one of the reasons why I decided to have to get my game out there as a conversation starter, because you never know what questions need to be asked when in a relationship, or not even just a physical relationship, but just a friendship, any type of relationship that you have with someone. You never know how they're going to act in a situation unless it's being brought up. But if it's never being brought up, you'll never know who you're meshing well with and who you're rubbing elbows with. So my conversation starter actually gets that. And a lot of people don't understand that it really helps. It's like a little therapy. But we also have one more question. Danina actually wanted to know what was the reasoning for Sarone to, because she said the last person, what was the reasoning why you had to get full custody? Like, how did that? I remember you told me about what was the reasoning for you going, but you didn't elaborate on here.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I said not to bash anybody. Things are said in the heat of the moment. Sometimes people argue, whatever the case may be. But in my situation, it was an outburst that was said, I'll take these kids and you'll never see them again. Now, if that, like I say, not to speak bad on anybody, I can say, hey, somebody may have felt a certain way that day, whatever the case may be. But me being a man and a father that I am, I'm not gonna play lightly with those words. So that's what made me go for full custody of mine. That's basically that. Anytime somebody tells you something like that, you take it at full value. I don't want to sit and decide if it's a joke or you were mad this day. And we were already separated, so it's like, and then yeah, so with that, I've been a father in my kid's life forever, so I wasn't even going to play with that one. And like I think one of the other gentlemen asked, what happens, if you're, so I have full custody. She gets them every other weekend. So, even now it's like, okay, if she wants to see them more or whatever the case may be, I have no issue with it. You know what I'm saying? But I had to do what I had to do to protect myself. Not being an a-hole. I don't do any, hey, I got the kids, you can't see them. None of that. But I would never tell a mother or anyone, you would never see your kids again. So just to be as full transparent as I can without bashing the mother of my children, that's what was stated. I'll take these kids and you'll never see them again.
Words. People do not understand the words. Words hurt as well. Okay. We have one more question. Then we're gonna go. Sarone, she wanted to know because your kids were the oldest when you had left out. Well, when you guys separated. So were your kids upset at the fact that you were taking them out of the household of their mother?
Mine was different. Mine was a case of abandonment. I didn't take him out the household. She removed herself from the household. Like I said, we've been together since we were kids. So to give her the benefit of the doubt, we was kids when we got together. We was kids when we had these kids. Somewhere along the line, maybe she thought this just wasn't, the life for her. As I hear so many other females that told me throughout the years, just kind of checked out, and just maybe got overwhelmed, whatever the case may be. So in my situation, I didn't physically remove them. She physically removed herself.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you guys. I'm sorry. Take this off. Okay, so I appreciate you guys so very much. I wish I had Eric on, however, I didn't. Okay, so let's ask his questions. Okay, so his question was, do you feel the need to have a female influence in your child's life? So we're gonna start with Damon. How you pronounce your name, babe? I'm sorry. Damon. I've been saying it right the whole time. Okay, great. Okay, yeah, you got muted. I muted you.
It don't matter.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, we have to
Damien, I don't pay no mind. It's all good. We all family.
Okay, so Damon, yes, you can go first. Do you feel the need to have a female influence in your children's life?
In the beginning, I didn't. In the beginning of me raising my children, I didn't. But what I was saying was that I was living as a single man, and I was dating different women. I had different women coming in and out of my home, and my daughter was seeing that, as well as my son. I was raising a little girl before I was raising a little boy by myself. And as a father, if you got daughters, if any of us on the panel got daughters, you know how it is with daddy's little girl, right? But sometimes our sons get overlooked with our behavior as well, and we sometimes take on this macho mentality like, oh, well, my son can see me with the ladies. I just don't want my daughter to see that. I don't want her to think that, but it's all right for my son to see that. And then we raise a man whore. You know what I'm saying? A womanizer. You know what I'm saying? A brother that's going to have a lot of babies out here in the street without having any responsibility for them. We're going to keep continuing the cycle. So I thought it was very important for me to change my life and to show my son and my daughter stability, and to show my son that he had to respect a woman just the same way that I want my daughter to be respected by her husband. You understand? I wanted to show my son that it's not only just about being a father and taking care of your family, it's also about respecting your wife and loving your wife and respecting her as a woman, just like your mother was a woman and your grandmother was a woman, how your sister's a woman. You have to show these men that, because what a stigma that we're going through, and in our community, and one thing we are going through is we're going through a situation where society, systematic racism has broken up a lot of the black family morals. So what we see a lot of this, with the macho mentality of I gotta have 100 ladies, I gotta be this ladies man, I gotta be doing all of this, and we want to protect what our daughters see. We want to keep them off the pole, but we're neglecting the brothers. You understand? And on our sons are seeing an oppression that is not reality. They're seeing an oppression that they're giving them the wrong impression on being a sturdy father figure. You understand? So I brought a woman in my life so my son didn't see the revolving door of ladies and think that was appropriate and go out and do that to somebody else's daughter. My son could run into any one of these brothers' daughters. I don't think that they would want my son to have a mentality that he got to have woman after woman. They would want my son to be respectful, come to them, ask them for their daughter's hand in marriage, respect their daughter, protect their daughter, be a God-fearing man, and take care of their family. Because no matter what background we came from, that's really all we want. So when I met my wife, I took all those things into consideration and how it would affect my family going forward. Not just my daughters, but my sons. And I picked a positive mate to have a positive outcome.
Okay. Word. Period. Okay. Theron, you have a daughter. How do you feel about this question?
With me, I got a son and a daughter. They're about 14 months apart. More so for my daughter, honestly. It's rather, I won't say easy, but for my son, we both men, kind of got like a bachelor household over here. We just kind of kick it a lot. But my daughter, I never been a woman before. You know what I'm saying? Just like that. So it's kind of hard to kind of even understand and kind of vibe with her. Even case in point, she came on cycle rather early. And like I was like, extra nervous, man. Like going in Walgreens, man, trying to find out what kind of pads and stuff, man. Like me and my mother wasn't on talking terms at the time. So even I had to go ask my neighbor, like honestly, and she was telling me about some wings and overnight and what I'm saying, all kind of stuff like that, man. But like even like now I got it down pat. I know what what I'm saying. I give me and my son, I know how to get her stuff and whatnot. But like things like that and just even self-esteem. I could tell all day, baby, you're beautiful and whatnot. You just my father. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes in that arena, so I would say more so in my daughter's life. It could benefit, let me say that, but doing the best I can, and it takes a village. I got my mother, my sister, and their mother, let me say this, is not completely out of their life. I just have full custody.
Right, exactly.
So, to give benefit where it's due. But ultimately, it gets difficult more at times with my daughter rather than my son. With him, it's real easy. We 20 years apart, so I can kind of feel, whatever the case may be. My daughter never been a woman before, so that gets a little trying at times.
Exactly. Okay, Anthony, you have a son, right? Okay, yes, he has a son. Okay, okay, let's see. His next question was, do you have time to date and is it hard? Okay, so we're gonna go with Anthony first. Anthony, do you do you have time to date and is it hard dating?
I say it is hard because when you always have your child, what I'm saying, some people don't understand. So it's not the easiest, what I'm saying? But yeah, it can be hard, yeah.
Yeah, usually guys, they say the girl be like, "Oh, I need a babysitter. I gotta go find a babysitter." But it's very seldom that you find a guy that says, "Oh, I need a babysitter to find somebody watching kids or whatever." So I completely understand that, and I have talked to people that actually have had rough relationships because the girl does not understand how big of a influence the father is in the child's life. They're like, you're pro. Yeah, be father for your kids, but then when it's interfering with what you got going on, now is what am I at?
Yeah.
So Saron, yes, you are not married. How does that? What? How do you feel?
Originally it was more so mental. Like I didn't been my children's mother 17 years, that kind of thing. So it's all me and the kids knew. So I didn't want to get out and date, and they felt like let me close this. Yeah, I didn't want to date and they felt like, I was leaving them behind or anything like that. So that was probably one of my first issues. And they got older and I think they just wanted daddy to be happy, that kind of thing. So that was it. But then after that, it became more so with the gentleman. I think with the time posters down, I forgot his name. What's your name again? Damon. Yeah, Damon.
Oh, Damon.
Yeah, but Damon was saying honestly about more so being in the right headspace myself. like I didn't want to, everything I went through and my divorce and everything because somebody wasn't ready or whatever. I didn't want to bring any baggage, man, or trauma issues or whatever the case may be. I was with the same person 17 years, so that's not something easy. Just kind of, so that's where the therapy and everything came in. So for me, it was more so myself, honestly. I just wasn't really trying to get out there like that at all because I wanted myself to be, healed and all that kind of stuff and make sure I was right. For somebody else, you don't want to bring somebody in. They say hurt people. So I wasn't trying to do that. You know what I'm saying? I believe in karma, good karma and bad karma. So do right by others. So that was really for me. I was hurt and that wasn't the right time for me to be in a relationship. Now I'm a little more open now.
I got it. Completely understand. I really, really appreciate you guys. So this is the end of the Miss Biscuit show with Shy City Dad. So if you have tuned in, because I shared this on many platforms, if you have not followed me, my podcast and my live talk show is about informational things that goes on in our world. It could be your everyday life or it couldn't. I'm just here to bring it out there so that everybody can hear about the stories that's going on around the world with us as well as other cultures. I appreciate all of my panelists. I appreciate Saron, author and entrepreneur. Please go get all of his stuff that he has going on. He is going to tag his page and everything that he provides at the bottom. His book is awesome. Damon, thank you so very much. I appreciate you, Anthony, as well. Eric, I know you are still listening. You had technical issues. I appreciate you. This would not be my only show about this. So, Eric, we're going to make sure that you get everything under control so you can come to the next show. I would like to thank everybody for watching. Everyone has the tea, but Miss Biscuit brings the tea and the biscuit. So I appreciate you guys so very much for coming on. We're done.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care. God